Wonderful. Well, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order today. You know, try to start at the top. Doesn't always work. Any public comment today?
I have a quick question. Are the subcommittees, the one like for the 4th of July parade, public or not?
So to the best of my knowledge at this point, the subcommittees are...
I'm not aware they've ever been made up of anything other than rec board members.
Yeah, so it's always just been rec board members that we've had the subcommittees for, so generally those are not public meetings. For all of the subcommittee, it's normally whenever we can get those together.
Well, he's asking if a non-rec board member can be a member of the subcommittee.
No, I'm asking if I can come video them.
It's not a public meeting, so we don't have to advertise or tell the public.
Okay, that was my question.
Thank you for the question. Anything else?
So I can't come, period, right?
So I would need to get clarification on that, but my
Okay.
understanding at this moment is that they're not
So
public
I'm
meetings,
asking.
as they're subcommittee
That's
meetings.
my question. So whenever you can get back to me, that's appreciated.
Understood. Thank you very much. Okay. So jumping in then with the rest of the agenda, I hope everyone had a chance to review the November meeting minutes. Anyone have any additions or corrections to the November meeting minutes? No additions or corrections, or if anyone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second? With a motion and a second, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, moving on, we have the financial report from December also included in the packet. Anything that you thought we should have our attention drawn to with the financial report, Randy?
No.
Good. Anyone else have any questions on the financial report today? Okay, no questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report. We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll make a second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the financial report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that's the financial report. Moving right along then, we have the committee report. So I'm up first for lighting of the greens. I think we had a successful event. We had the vendor marketplace there. It seemed to move a little bit smoother this year overall. I think everything was right where it needed to be. I don't think we had any large takeaways this year that are striking me, but it's been a bit since I reviewed the report. But we'll make sure we continue to improve on it next year. We did have some last minute vendors ask to be included in the marketplace, and we felt limiting it to 10 was kind of the right size. It kept everybody along the path, kind of where all the lighting is, and it seemed to be kind of the right size to not try to just extend out further with that marketplace, but it's something we can look at going forward as well. That's everything I have, unless anyone has any additional questions.
It was a very cold day,
It was
so
very
that,
cold.
yeah, that made it a little challenging, but we can't control the weather, and I think everything went really well, also.
Okay, very
That was good.
wonderful.
Attendance was definitely down, but a couple things played into it. The cold weather, and then the elementary school also hosted their holiday gift, whatever it's called, I can't remember. But I think both of those things played into it.
Well, we also talked about how there was not even 4 full weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I think that was quite
Yeah.
a bigger issue.
Did the timing of the event change from the previous year? I can't recall.
We extended it an hour earlier based on some of the feedback from the vendors, so it was an
Gotcha.
hour longer for the event.
Did it in the earlier.
But last year it also coincided with the same day of holiday shop at the school, so I mean, I don't know if that's just,
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay.
so I don't know if that's just gonna be,
It's probably more weather dependent than.
Well, I've already had, with the holiday marketplace, I've already had 3 people reach out and said, hey, can I make a reservation for next year?
That's great.
So,
Wonderful.
Do you charge that?
we didn't, no.
So at this point we haven't, but that's something we're going to be looking at going forward. Any other questions about lighting of the greens? Wonderful. So moving on for the egg hunt.
Alright, Randy and I had our first meeting about the egg hunt. We're trying to figure out how to contain the chaos a little bit more, which I don't think, based upon my research, that's impossible to do, and every egg hunt ever is miserable. That's what I'm finding. But, literally, everything that I find is just, it doesn't matter what you do, kids are gonna shove, and parents are gonna shove, and everyone's gonna shove. So,
Embrace it.
we're gonna, yeah, and encourage everyone to do the same. So we're gonna break the age groups down into smaller groups because I don't remember what the age group was last year, but I think it was like 6, 7, and 8, or 7, 8, and 9. There was one group in particular that had a lot of people and a lot of altercations.
It was 7, 8, and 9.
7, 8, and 9. So hopefully by breaking them into the smaller groups, that will help a bit, at least just surely because there will be fewer people, hopefully. My top priority is finding more volunteers. So we usually use the drama club, and I'm going to extend an invitation to them, but I'm also going to ask the other clubs at the high school as well. And I talked to a teacher at First Catholic who's going to distribute the sign-up genius there as well. So I think we just need volume as far as volunteers, but we also need adults. So I don't know if we can find adults or if there are rec board members that can commit to being there, but I think every age group needs an adult volunteer in the middle because the kids can't, especially when the parents are contributing to the chaos. I think the high schoolers can only do so much, so I really want to get some adult volunteers. And I'm not quite sure where to pull them from, but that would be another priority.
One question, Kristen, for you, if you're open to questions. Has there ever been like a limit of like, we ask that you pick up 10 eggs.
That's on my list.
And then please step aside and allow others, because there were definitely multiple kids crying last year. Thankfully we had enough that we could give them an egg, so they cried less. But I feel like encouraging, I mean, you're still gonna have some people that hoard, but like encouraging people, like parents, to count their kids' eggs, and once you pick up 10, please like allow others to.
Yeah, so that was one thing that I've seen pretty consistently as one of the rules, like you can get 15 eggs or 10 eggs or whatever it is. I mean, we can try that. We can try requiring registration, but I just have no idea how we would actually facilitate and then enforce that. Aside from maybe getting bracelets and like braceleting and having volunteers like evict kids that don't have a bracelet on, which I don't know that would really work all that well.
I don't want to be the one telling a 3-year-old.
And so the things that I have here to try to improve was thinking about registration, thinking about limiting the number of eggs. We're not going to put the eggs out until soon, like we have 20 minutes in between the hunts, and so we're going to put the eggs out closer to the start time try to help limit the encroaching. And if the eggs aren't there, there's nothing to really encroach towards, so that's the goal. And then the other thing I was thinking about was trying to pre-package the things that we give out at the end, because that when they're handing in their eggs and then they're trying to pick the gift card that they get, and they're trying to it ends up being a little chaotic. So I think if we just have a bag and it's got your coupon and your eggs, and you just take your bag and you go, and they're all the same, and there's no question of like what restaurant you want your coupon from. So I think that will help to streamline that a little bit. But I did talk to the rec director in Bakertown. I was Googling and I came across their site, and I sent it to Randy, and I just talked her an email, and I said, like, they have over 700 kids that come, and so I wanted to pick her brain a little bit. So she gave me like the highlights. She said that they fill 15,000 eggs. So we have 7,000,
and the previous year was 4,000.
So she said to fill those, she goes and buys Halloween candy like right after it goes on sale, which obviously is too late to do that now, but we can consider it for future if we're gonna have significantly more eggs. And then she schedules volunteer days for the high schools to come and fill the eggs, and she said they usually do that over their Christmas break. So then it takes them about 3 hours, she said, to stuff all the eggs. She said they do 4 hunts and they do them on half a soccer field in size. They use the same thing as we did, plastic cattle stakes and caution tape, which, I mean, we used the caution tape last year, so similarly. They don't allow parents to help, which is something that I had mentioned to Randy, because I feel like they, especially with some of the age groups, like parents don't need to be in there. So she says the kids must be able to walk and there's no parents allowed.
I think that's a good call.
I mean, I know with how many kids we get in that little kid area, it can be overwhelming, so I don't know if that's something we want to do, but at the same time, sometimes then the parents are part of what makes it so overwhelming. If it's only little kids, maybe, you know.
Or with that little kid, maybe you can have 2 heats. Like with that specifically, like what's the age
You need
group
a
for the
parent
little?
with you. We have 1 to 2 year olds.
Yeah, so for that particular age group, maybe you say like you put out half the eggs, and then the first however many kids are in the first heat, and then we're gonna do a second heat. Don't worry if you weren't in the first heat, like
yeah, but
something
then,
like that.
I mean, I feel like kids will just go in the second heat too.
1 and 2 year olds, I mean the parents might, but
Yeah.
kids wouldn't be savvy enough to do that at that age.
Yeah.
Kristen, when I was doing Spooky Hollow and helping out with lighting up the greens, there was a teacher at the high school that's, I think, in charge of like the service calls, and she reached out to me.
Yeah, she's great.
What's her name?
I forget her
I
name.
forget her name.
but
I'll
I
find
know
out.
she
I'll make
always
sure it's the
gets right
same
back to
teacher,
me.
but she
Okay.
said, like, make sure you tell me whenever you need help because I'm looking for opportunities. So
Yeah.
for that, and also I know that the autism support class in the past, the autism support class has helped us fill our
Was that who has stuffed the eggs before?
So,
okay,
if
we knew it
that's-
was class in school.
And that was
Okay.
Sally McAvoy used to be the teacher. I don't know if she still is.
I feel like the prospectus broker
Good.
help us.
Well, I was about to say,
Yeah.
since we met, Prospectus Burko, originally they said, hey Randy, we'd love to come back, but we want you to pay us this year. And they were amazing last year. They were
Mhm.
such a great group. And I told her, unfortunately, that our budgets have been set. Budgets are very tight this year. Unfortunately, we can't do that. And she immediately emailed me back and said, you can't blame me for asking.
Of course.
And I said that, and she said, count us in. We're definitely coming back.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
So wait, what group was that?
Prospectus broker.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. Like,
So they try and place. I think-
Challenge.
Yeah, like, well, I was gonna say, I think some of them are on the cusp of 17, 18, and then young adults or adults, that are
maybe
trying,
skilled.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, and it was, honestly, like I told her, I'd have a blast going in there when they'd get here in the morning because they just loved engaging people. And because they don't always get it. And they had a blast
They
doing
were
it.
super happy
Yeah.
and positive.
So the good news is they're coming back.
Okay, good, yeah. And then she said they have monitors that are there during the hunt to enforce the rules, so like pushing, shoving, stealing. And I think our volunteers like duck and cover as soon as we say that it's about time to start. So that's again, I think why we'd wanna have adults maybe in addition to the students to keep an eye on that.
Maybe with like official like rec board
It's the rec board.
identification.
Yeah.
Again, some sort of like button or,
Yeah.
or,
Well, she's right. It's easier to listen to an adult versus a
Oh, yeah.
15-year-old kid.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the fact is, what she's asking you for is, hey, we need more volunteers from the rec board.
Mhm.
And if you can commit to an hour, 2 hours, and take an age group, that's great. Show up, help us corral those kids,
Yeah.
and then leave.
With the time slots, yeah, it's not all that long with our hunting, so.
And they go like that.
Yeah.
3 minutes and it's done.
Yeah. And then she said they put the rules online, and then they have goodie bags that they hand out before you park, and with the goodie bags is a copy of the rules, so the rules go to the parents, and the parents then kind of review them with the kids prior to even like coming to the event. So that's what she does, and she said that they make 900 goodie bags, and they typically go through most of them, and that they've had success with things that we can consider. We're gonna have a second food truck. We had the Perk Up truck last year, and we're gonna have Rhythmic Provisions as well, which has more like food items in addition to like the coffees, which hopefully, you know, when the older kids are hunting and the younger kids are done, they can eat their French fries and, you know, hang out. So hopefully that will cut down on the lines and make everyone less hangry.
When is the egg hunt?
You know, I don't know the date
April
offhand.
12th.
April
12th.
It's a Saturday and then the Sunday is the rain date. I want to figure out how to make the egg return process go a bit better, so I'm hoping that the prepackaged return egg rewards will help.
That's
but
a great idea.
I think we just need volume, volunteers, like more people, and more signs. I think people often like all go to the same desk and then they all like get in this big giant line, and then there's other kids that have the stuff and they just don't realize it. So we'll just have more signage and things like that. And the bunny will be there again. We have our suit, so we just have to confirm who's going to wear the suit. And then instead of a photo op, we're just going to have him kind of roving about, so people can take their own pictures as he's going, and then he'll go along to start each of the events. So that's that. That's where we're at. So we have to figure out how many more eggs we're going to get. I know we'll get more, but it's hard to tell because every year I feel like there's more people, and I said we have 1 million eggs, and it wouldn't really matter. There'd still be kids who wouldn't get them. So I think it's worth considering a rule about how many you can take, but then I feel like it's hard for the volunteers to see how many are in the basket. If you think they have 10 and they only have 9, then...
Do you have an estimate of how many kids we had last year across the age groups?
We requested pre-registration, and I don't remember offhand. I don't know if you know that number or you can look it up, but...
Well, you gotta figure, are you asking just for the registration number?
Just for if we have the registration versus, I know sometimes we try to estimate participation if we have an estimate of how many
I can
kids
look,
we
I don't remember if I have that.
Or, like maybe the adult that is the monitor for designated age group has 10 eggs on reserve.
Yeah.
So if there's a kid that is crying because they got 1
Slip it
egg
to
or
them,
no eggs,
yeah.
then they can give the kid a couple
And we
of
can also,
slides.
you know, try, you know, kind of a step-up process, obviously having kind of a free-for-all at this point. If we start enforcing the rules, or at least providing rules, hopefully people are going to start, you know,
Yeah.
self-policing.
Yeah, it was hard to last year because I think I don't know if it's Randy, but somebody had a bullhorn,
Yeah.
and like you literally couldn't hear because they were like spin. I think you were turning, so when you were facing the other way, we couldn't hear what was being said.
But I think a couple of the key takeaways, oh, by the way, Palmer did commit.
Mhm.
They gave me a list of all the candy. It's at least what they gave me last year. I think it's more,
Okay.
which is good news. I think the key is how many more eggs do we need to get?
Yeah.
How do we communicate these rules? I updated the Wyomissing rec page today, and I wrote 9 or 10 rules on that page. But
Yeah.
leading up to the event, we'll make sure that we publicize our rules. I think we all know that parents ruin everything, whether it's sports, activities, or anything else. Parents are the ones who ruin it. Granted, there's going to be some bad kids, but I think the way to combat that is to have these adult volunteers corralling each section to try to cut down on pushing, shoving, cussing, stealing. But that's going to be us that has to do that sort of thing. The Quakertown information was tremendous, so I applaud you for that. That was great.
She was really helpful.
And it's great to build off of that. I don't know that we can say only 18 eggs per kid, because I agree with you. I don't know that you can police that.
Well, so she said they watch, and when they think they're getting close to that, because they do, they let them have 15 eggs, and when it starts and we notice kids all seem to have enough, then we announce that you can take more. Again, I don't think we could, I mean, maybe one of the rules is that you need to manage your expectations, and you're not all gonna get the same amount, and you just have to, I suggested empty eggs, and everyone just gets a gift bag, and Randy gave that a hard no, he said too much disappointment. But if there's too many crying kids this year, they'll all be crying next year with their empty eggs.
Okay.
So, anyway, but that's where we're at, so we'll get a lot more eggs, and we'll try to just hammer the rules, and hopefully we can get a lot of volunteers, so we all want to come, just let me know, and I'll sign you to an age group.
Thank you for the work so far. Any other questions for the egg hunt? Wonderful. So you are back up.
I'm back up.
I'll start today.
My playground update is shorter. So ultimately, our goal for this year is to just continue to improve upon the structures and the processes that we created last year. We have a good outline. It seems it was really well received, but I think there's still some room for improvement that we'll start to, chip away at. We opened enrollment early, so that opened on January 15th. I've not had one negative comment about the price increase. It's been a non-issue. I don't think Randy, anyone has said anything to you either. So I think we did well in striking that balance there. It was fine. It's not been an issue at all. We have 51 kids enrolled so far, so our income from that is just over $6,000. And it's early. So the one thing that I did notice looking at it is that it's skewed significantly. There's a lot of enrollments at Happy Hollow and not so many at the Hills. So we'll just need to be, cognizant of that and staff accordingly.
But attendance pretty much balances out that same number. That Hills is skewed heavier with or Happy Hollow skews heavier.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, they tend to always have more. So I was just surprised at how many more right off the bat. But we updated the age for the volunteers so that they can start to volunteer once they hit 13. So if they turn 13 up until the day before the start of the program, they have to be 13 to be a volunteer, but they can apply. And we're going to try to turn those volunteers over into staff members. I think we're losing some people because they have a lost summer in between there when they can't participate but they couldn't volunteer, so now they can just roll right over from one to the other. So there will be some slightly over 12-year-olds technically. So we just want to get rid of the gap. So right up until you're 13 you can attend, and then once you're 13 you can be a volunteer.
I like that letter that went out today. I don't know if the two of you wrote that about the volunteers, but that was great. Like, just as a parent,
Yeah.
that would be. If I had a child at that age, I'd be really excited about that opportunity.
Yeah. So we did a Google Doc as the application for that, and Randy put it on all of the social media places and the email, and then I sent it over to the high school so they can put it on their in school app, so the younger kids there will see that. We're working on.
And we already have how many?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look. Did people apply?
It's 10.
Oh, okay.
10 have already applied.
I know there's a lot of interest, and then there's so many kids that like to babysit too, and then it gives them that experience. So there's a lot of benefits. We're gonna do a similar application for counselors as well. We don't have it completed yet, but to try to get the bulk of their information and experience just electronically before we're interviewing them, because we are gonna interview everyone prior to giving them an offer. We just have to finalize that plan specifically as to when we're gonna do it. We're gonna try to advertise with the high school, and they've already agreed to let us come in and do the interviews there. I believe we have to just work out the specifics of that. And then I'll send the information over to Works Catholic as well, so we can try to get some new faces in addition to some of the frequent flyers that come back. They're great. The ones that come back all the time are great, most of them. But I think it would be good to the same way that we're advertising, the openings on the boards and things like that. We'll let people know how to apply, because I think it's been a little, people haven't really maybe known. So we're gonna really try to get it out there and have some new people apply. We're meeting with Aaron and Nikki on Thursday to work through their roles and responsibilities. And then with that, we will figure out, kind of who's doing what. We'll start planning the themes. We're going to structure it very similarly to last summer. We did switch the prom to being a summer-themed dance party because there was some, not negative feedback, but just not everyone loves the prom theme. So we're just going to make it a little bit more neutral, so you can come and dance if you want to dance, and play football if you want to play football. But It'll still be an event, it just won't be quite as, you know, like formal prom-y. Budget-wise, we have extra money for the carnival from our grant, and I think that we can, I mean, I know we can stay within our budget. Once we have the budget, we can break it down and stay within it. A lot of our purchases last year, like there were broken things and like what were the hockey sticks we
Starting
had to buy?
over.
They were like, yeah, so a lot of it was like stock and replacements and, you know, so I don't think a lot of that purchasing is even really gonna need to take place, which will be helpful. And then salary wise, we're gonna work with Aaron and Nikki just to see, you know, how many hours they need once they know specifically what they're expected to do, and then we'll figure out, you know, we'll keep working to keep just the staff there that we need there. I think there were some events like the Lantern Parade, I think like every counselor they had on that night and didn't need a lot of them. I think it was the Lantern Parade that they mentioned specifically. And then prom, I know a lot of kids are on staff, but they just come in their dresses and don't really actually do much because a lot of parents stay. So those are two that jumped out at me as, you know, opportunity. But that's where we're at. So a lot of interest still and nothing bad.
I think a
No
couple
yelling,
of great
so-
comments or things about the program overall is the enthusiasm about registering early.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed that 51 people have already done it. 2, we haven't heard a single negative feedback about the price increase. By extending it to 9 weeks, it's all how you communicate it. You know, the whole compliment sandwich.
Yeah.
Had a great thing, had a
Yeah.
bad thing, ended with a great thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody's gonna push back there. But I think the need for staffing, volunteers and counselors, there's a decline in it and in the interest. So I think it's our jobs to figure out how do we stimulate that. And I think that a lot of our employees are legacy employees. So in other words, their parents worked there, so they're gonna work there. Their grandparents worked there, so they're gonna work there. Our jobs are to figure out Berks Catholic kids, Alvernia kids, you know, publicize it in the high school, because in our post-review, some of the comments were not enough kids know that there's an opportunity to work at playground. If they just moved here, they didn't know that. So I think that's one of the things we really need to push is how do we make it more attractive to get new kids to come and work there. So.
And if they're seeking it out because they want to do it, that's going to get a different caliber of
Yep.
person, you know. So
Are you advertising through like MyRack
Mhm.
and the emails?
Yeah, so the volunteer one went out today, the counselor one will go out as soon as we finish the sign up genius and how to word it.
yeah.
So our goal is to have everybody, Kathy's put her foot down and said, hey, you need to get all these people hired and acceptance letters to get them started with clearances, paperwork, and onboarding. Last year, it led all the way up to the first day of playground that kids were still onboarding and getting their information in. So the goal is this year, Mike will talk about it in the pool, is by 3/1, we want offer letters out, acceptance letters coming back, and give kids, hey, here's the deadline. If you don't get back to us, you're off the list. And be more strict. So that means we want to have a bigger pool of people to choose from, so in case that happens. Hey, I get it, teenagers are knuckleheads, and their sense of urgency is 0, unless it's the most important thing for them. So by starting earlier, we're hoping we can get it all taken care of faster.
I would say for what it's worth, that up until the day the playground program starts, kids on
Always
boarding,
happens.
that's every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
Kathy made it clear, Randy gets started earlier, because she's the one who has to do it all.
Yep.
And that 15, 16-year-old kid has no idea what hoops Kathy has to jump through to get all the paperwork done. So if we can make it easier for her, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I think if there's any way to like really impress upon the kids too that it takes time, like as a parent of, you know, the playground kids, like it was more complicated to go through all of that. Like they can't do it on their own and it takes a little longer and you think you're done and you're not quite done. Like they need to start early and ask for help if they need it.
Yeah.
They just need the 3, like, what are the clearances that they need? They need the child abuse, FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of documentation they have to upload in terms of direct deposit and like payroll paperwork,
Yeah.
it's all a part of that.
Like,
Sally's
yeah.
right, it's not
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, no.
But again, they're 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who are thinking about video games, girls, boys, summer, the pool, and everything else. So last thing on their mind is getting their paperwork done. So start earlier and hope we can, press on them to get it done. That's all we can do.
Any other questions for the playground? Wonderful. Moving on, Mike, you're up for the pool.
So we had a committee meeting last Friday, and it's basically a lot of pre-planning stuff. We have a list of dates, significant things that are happening. The most notable one is that we're actually having a midnight swim from 8 to midnight. That's going to be a new thing. Not to rehash what we already said about staffing, Randy wants everybody have letters by 3/1. Not going to go through that. Talked about swim lessons. Sally and Chris are going to develop and implement the WSI program. Do you have anything to add to that, Sally?
I mean, I think we're gonna try to get like different like skill lists for each level. And I think, most of this is going to be on Chris to kind of, make sure he has people who are, for himself and then like his assistant managers that are trained and ready.
May I ask you a question about that? I think I saw somewhere, are the swim lessons 2 weeks now as opposed to 1 week?
No, they're still 1 week.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're 2 weeks.
I saw
Yeah.
it somewhere,
Yeah.
I feel like.
It is 2 weeks. I'm sorry. Session 1, 2, and 3. Each one of them are 2 weeks.
So that's a change.
No,
So
it's the same as it's
no,
always been.
in the past, like, it was only 1 week.
Last year it was 2.
It's only been one, like,
Yeah, I didn't do any of it.
I didn't do last year
When
because I did it the year before.
Last year was
Yeah,
2.
good.
So we're doing the same thing that it was. Even the year before, all I did was mimic the same thing.
But it wasn't,
just
we both
telling
had
you.
kids in it,
Yeah, it
Randy.
definitely was
It was only 1 week.
Last year I mimicked what the year before was.
I'm just bringing it up because for vacations, like I know that in the wording of like the swim lessons in the past has been like, make sure that you can attend all the sessions out of respect for your fellow classmates and the instructor. The wording is like very strong about like attendance. So a 2 week window is kind of a long time in the summer. I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, it's published. It's done. It's 2 weeks.
I was talking to.
No, I'm
Sally.
saying it's.
Just
Oh, it's
wanted
been
her to know
published.
That was.
It's out. The rec guide is
Okay.
printing today, and it's 2 weeks. Session 1, 2, and 3.
We touched upon improvements on the snack bar. Full service concessions is going to drop some pools and concentrate on ours, so we hope for the best there. Mechanical status of the pool, there's a leak in the 12-inch drain. We're adding water. Guys are gonna pinpoint the leak in February and March, just to make sure. Garden programming, swim with mermaids, or fitness and lap swim are all in the evenings. So that's gonna be a new thing. And then Scott Williams did not commit to the season for swim team coach. So I guess we're gonna have to,
Oh, the good coach that you guys really like.
yeah. And I know Scott, I like him a lot, friends for a long time, but he's done. And Randy informed me tonight, so we're gonna be on the hunt for a new swim team coach. So we're gonna have to come up with a plan for that. So that's my report, Rick.
I talked to Michelle briefly about it today. I told her about Scott, and as I said in the meeting, what I would hate to do is, because I'm not in the Wahoo swim team community, is I'd hate to hire someone and go, okay, here's your coach, that they need to be on board with that person. So what Pamela and I talked about was she feels comfortable with them searching, recruiting, finding somebody, narrowing it down, and then during the interview process, I would sit down, because like Michelle said, they're still a borough employee.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, I don't want to hand them somebody and say, there's your coach.
Yeah.
And she feels confident they'll find somebody.
Wonderful. Any other questions for the committee? Okay, so that's all the committee reports. On to the director reports. So Randy, what else you got for us tonight?
On the financial side, just a quick note, the total rentals for last year, and if you remember, the Stonehouse was pretty much out of commission since July,
No, before that.
and then they opened it up for us. So
I would say
In-
most of the year besides like a month.
yeah, so we ended the year at a little over $11,000 in revenues generated from rentals, and this year's forecast is at 13, based on the fact, a couple of things, that we'll publicize rentals more often in more different places, and the Stonehouse being open. Speaking of the Stonehouse, we've already had 2 rentals in January, and the requests just keep coming in for more information about that one
Good.
specifically. So feel comfortable about that. The fundraising campaign is, in my opinion, a little light. Right, I just got another $500 check yesterday or today. We're up to $7,750. The majority of the people are the same people who contribute. They're just contributing less, and most of their comment is, "Randy, it's tough. It's not as
Yeah.
easy as it used to be." So. Upcoming events, stargazing in the parklands is starting back up. Even though it's February 7th, it'll be chilly. If you went to the one last year, it was one of the most beautiful nights. Dress accordingly and come out, and because of the sun, how the moon is and everything, all the, that's not my thing, but it was nice. We had a great turnout. Biggest difference in this year is there's only 3 stargazing events. Working with the guy from Berks Astronomy, he tries to line them up with the quarterly moon blah blah blahs, and unfortunately the 4th quarter ones fall on the day before Thanksgiving, Halloween, and Christmas Eve are the best viewing nights for 4th quarter. So what we decided was, instead of putting it out there that we're going to have an event and have a poor turnout, we're only going to have 3, and we'll publicize the fact that, hey, we're sorry about that, but most people are going to go out on New Year's or Halloween, and so we just didn't feel like we'd have great turnout, so we'll have 3.
I think it's fine.
The
You
first
have
one-
3 for the fall walk series too.
Yeah. So the first one will be in a couple of weeks.
2 weeks.
Does he do like any education during
Oh, he's
that?
phenomenal. I mean, you can ask Rick. He loves to talk. He's a teacher in Pottsgrove or Pottstown, and the nice thing about it, he doesn't teach you; he talks with you. And everything from Elon Musk's satellites because almost every night those are launched, so you always see something, and he points things out. He brings little kids over. It's a good night. For everybody, from little kids to grown-ups. So, the egg hunt, we went over that. Earth Day, I forgot to mention with the committee reports, we're having 2 more meetings coming up. 4th of July is tomorrow night, and egg hunt is Monday at 10. Earth Day is Monday at 10, right? Monday at 2, okay. So those 2 committee meetings are coming up. Earth Day is April 26th with a rain date of the 27th. We are extending Earth Day by an hour. If you remember last year it was only an hour, we're adding an hour to that as well. A couple of new things always looking for things to try and do was one I read about was called Chalk of the Town. The elementary school already does a tremendous job, and they have a great turnout for when the day before school starts, the Wyomissing Hills Social Committee goes out and they decorate all the sidewalks as you lead into the school. Welcome back, that kind of thing. I met with a West Reading artist, Juan Carlos Ruiz. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him. A lot of times he's on the Avenue painting and drawing. He does a ton of stuff. I met with him, and he wants to partner with us, and he would lead this. So the idea behind this is we go to Wyomissing Hills on the road that goes between Memorial Drive, that we would mark off areas for kids to go in and do a 5x5, 3x3, whatever the size is, and he kind of leads it. Like he mentioned, the theme could be Welcome to the Jungle, and he leads kids on these jungle-inspired things that they could do. We bring in a food truck, have music playing, just something else for kids to do. The other one that I found was called Touch a Truck. And if you guys are familiar, the Fighting Phils do this. It's April 17th, I think is the date, or 23rd, somewhere right around. They've done it for 17 years. The biggest difference is they charge $10 for getting in, so it's a paid event. So in talking with Greg, Chief Phillips, and Chief Holmes, we all like the idea of, what little kid doesn't like big trucks? So the idea was we would line the Happy Hollow Park, everything from cement trucks, front end loaders, police cars, a SWAT vehicle, fire truck, whatever we can reach out to, and let kids come out, and for a 3-hour period they get to touch a truck. They're both really excited. Even Greg from Public Works, he was the same way. It's like, oh my God, we have so many things that we take out there. So our idea is to continue that and reach out to some of the vendors, construction vendors that we work with, and invite them to come out and participate as well. But those 2 dates are on there. Those dates, I can't remember if I put them in the programming dates I gave you guys. I'm not sure if those are in there. As far as programming goes, with the playground, Kristen went over everything. Again, our biggest focus is recruiting and hiring, budget control, and then how are we going to maintain or work on our supply ordering. Michelle had a great idea. She had a meeting back in October with the director and the facilitator, kind of going over how things ran last summer, and ordering supplies was a tough one. So one of the thoughts we have is maybe our front desk person, Allison, might be able to help and facilitate that for us. That she can kind of spearhead that. We give her what we need. She goes onto the Amazon account or wherever we can get the items and purchase them for us. So, the pool, Mike gave you the update there. Registration for that is going to open up on 2/15. And you might be asking, hey, why are you opening up registration? I usually don't open, a month till the events happen. Some of the feedback we got when we did the different questionnaires and surveys at the end were residents didn't like the fact that they had to pay for pool, playground, football camp, and all these bills hit them all at one time. So our idea was spread these out and give them an opportunity to pay early if they wanted to. And based on what we've seen with playground, it's already working. So. As part of our meeting with Chris, we talked about the recruiting and hiring. We talked about that, making sure that we get the offer letters out as quick as possible. New activities with that, we're still working out the details, is Swim with the Mermaids, the Sweat Aqua Fitness, and introducing evening lap swim. And the idea behind that is, Kate pointed this out as a great way to do it, is invite kids to get out of the pool at 6 o'clock so adults who have day jobs have something they can do at the pool. So we're going to really promote the basketball courts, the volleyball courts. If you remember, part of the rec improvement budget, that the wiffle ball field was approved, so we'll be putting that in, and the Gaga pit as well. Kate also stressed, hey, you really need to promote, hey, get out of the pool and go eat. And that way we can drive sales through the snack bar that way. But the idea is to open up the pool for a 30-minute window, 35-minute window of kids are out of the pool and these other things are going to happen, these evening programming. The Wyomissing rec guide, I have this down wrong. There was a hiccup today in the files. They were corrupt. They were supposed to actually start printing tomorrow. The files that got sent over were corrupt and she has to redo the files. So in talking with the printer at Sir Speedy, he is saying the books will be in home by 2/1. That's a month earlier than they were last year. Last year was March 5th. Lastly, the programming dates, I sent you the file with all the dates on it. Those have been shared with the school program, police, fire, public works, everybody has that now. Any questions on the director's report?
No questions. Thank you so much for your report, Randy. Okay, no old business on there, so that brings us down to just new business. So we are looking at 2025 rec board members. So we have 2 members. I guess neither were able to join us this evening for looking to bring them in. So I'm not sure if we want to vote on them tonight or wait until they're present. I'm not sure how many of you had the opportunity to meet Pam or Jess so far.
Jess, so multiple events.
I would suggest voting because that gives you a better opportunity for a forum in the future.
Okay, perfect. So we have 2 nominations on the table here. So do I have anyone willing to make a motion to nominate Jess Leinbach with a term expiring 12/31/2025 to the rec board?
Yeah, Sally can make it.
Okay,
I'll
make a
second it.
motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor of approving Jess for nomination term expiring 12/31/2025, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. And then we have also Pamela Wetzel, who was helpful with the lighting of the green, so she was around that day and helping with that event overall. So we were looking for her to come in with a term expiring 12/31/2026. Do I have anyone willing to make that motion?
Yes.
They can't run concurrent because otherwise the whole board would be up at once. So the terms are staggered and run for different time periods. So my guess is they're each filling someone else's balance.
Was there any reason they got distributed the way they did? Like in terms of one's a 1 year and the other's a 2 year?
One's not even a 1 year.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if there was, because I know that when we came in it was all kind of just arbitrary. We got 1, 2, and 3 years.
At this point, I don't know if there was any meaning behind who was associated with which term expired at this point.
Did they get a choice in that? Like
No.
we got to opt into our terms.
I told them both, and they were both like, I don't care. I just want to be on the board.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, Jess is finishing school January and February. That's why she couldn't be there tonight. She's testing out in February, so she couldn't start anyway till March. And if you guys are familiar, you know, just because you say that you approve it, it still has to go to council, which the first meeting is the second week in February. So with your approval, or it goes to council first before it's official. So by her starting in March, it works out okay. With Pamela is the Wahoo's president of their club, and she helped us with a few events. So it kind of, if you remember, we talked about this at our last meeting, and you mentioned that, hey, I think it should be a requirement that they've been on a committee, helped with something, things like that, so.
How does council make their decision? Like, do they have bios or something? They just go off of our
They're typically
recommendation?
going off of the recommendation of the committee, but I mean, keep in mind, it's ultimately actually the council president's choice whether or not to appoint someone.
Yeah.
And we have had, through Finance and Administration this past month, we have made a change going forward for open positions not filled to be posted online to generate additional candidates.
I was assuming that I didn't get an active alert. I'm sorry.
So do I have anyone willing to make the motion for Pam?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Wonderful. So we have more rec board members to send on with our report, and that is the end of our agenda today. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Anyone want to make that motion?
Roll motion.
Okay, and we are adjourned. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.